My name is Jonah Neal. I farm in Waterford, Ohio with my family. I've been farming with my family for about 20 years now. Along with farming with my family, I've also been a sales agronomist with Heritage Cooperative for about 7 years now. We primarily are a beef cattle operation with row crops also. We focus mainly on corn and soybeans, but also raise a little bit of wheat.
My name's Doug Seaman. I farm with my family here in southeast Ohio in a little town called Barlow. The family started farming back when my grandfather came home from the war in the late 40s. I'm also employed off the farm. I'm a sales agronomist with Heritage Cooperative. I've been in the agronomy business for 12 years. Basically, we farm corn, soybeans, and hay. We got about 600 acres here in the general Barlow area. So. A lot of our farming operation is principally no-till, and that's just due to the terrain we farm in. We farm a lot of hilly ground. We farm a lot of highly erodible soils. A lot of our soil is a silty loam soil. Our CECs are predominantly in that 8 to 10. We do have some that's in the double digits, 12, 13 range. But production for us can be very good at times too. We're very dependent on the rainfalls. We're only working with about 8 inches of topsoil. So, but I think a lot of things we try to do here is really focus on the in-season management piece. Just build a solid foundation and then don't give up on the growing crop in season.
So in our operation, we farm all kinds of different soil types. I mean, we have river bottoms that are almost all sand and gravel to heavy clay-based soils that, we struggle to get seed trench closed just because of the amount of clay in the soil. As you can see, this is some of the conditions we've been fighting this year. Muddy conditions, trying to get the crop in. Luckily, we've had a small window of opportunity so far to get some in. We got our yield contest corn in early and on time. We're trying to push, what we can do with our operation, and we've always focused on getting the crop in a timely fashion and getting it done right. We're going to focus primarily in furrow, and we're going to focus also in the future on trying to add some precision things to it.
All right, guys. Welcome to the first episode of OHBinBusters. I'm Doug Seaman. This is Jonah Neal. We're here to walk you through what our purposes are with this whole program. I think step one for me, and we'll let Jonah chime in here in a minute, but step one for me is to prove that you don't have to have a $200,000 planter. You don't have to farm 10,000 acres, to be capable of moving the bar on your farm to achieve high-end yields. And also with those high-end yields come, good ROI, because at the end of the day, it's not fun to raise 300 bushel corn if you're not making money doing it. Jonah, would you agree with that?
I'd agree. I mean, I see some of the most successful farmers I work with, they don't have the fanciest equipment. They have some of the most common equipment that you can see on Tractor House for next to nothing. It's the guys who know how to spend a little money on their inputs that count, that are really making the big returns on their operations.
Yeah. And for us, Jonah and I, it comes back to really in-season management, having a very rigorous tissue testing program and feed the growing crop. Like Jonah said, I personally, I plant with a 50 series John Deere. I plant with a corn planter that was built in the 1980s. To that point, we do add attachments and we do a lot of work with precision planting to make sure that we are getting a good stand, to have a good crop that we don't have to give up on. So, and I think, Jonah does a great job as well with monitoring his planting equipment to make sure that we're laying the base. Once we establish a good base, then we can rely on our in-season practices to really move the bar. Well, for me, the 2020 season has not started off real positive. We have faced a lot of weather conditions. We had decent weather first of April, and I think, Jonah, you were able to take advantage of that. On our end, we simply just weren't able to get in. For us, we started planting corn the 13th of May. We've been able to get a little bit of corn in the ground before this happened. We've been able to get some of the NCGA entry corn planted, and now we've incurred about 5.5 inches of rain in the last 48 hours.
Similar situation on our end of the county. We were actually lucky enough to get down on April the 6th and plant our high-yielding beans. Seemed to have good conditions up front. Had some issues with weather patterns afterwards, but we'll touch on that later on. Some of the issues we touched on there. And then May the 14th, we put in the NCGA entry, and that was pretty much, we had a 24-hour window to get everything in.
So going into this year's yield contest, we chose a couple of different fields for various reasons. A couple of those reasons is yield potential, and one other thing that comes into the equation down here is a NCGA field has to be 10 acres or more of the same planted hybrid. In our geography, sometimes that's hard to come by, so we only have a few fields that we can actually enter into the contest. You know, the other factor that comes into mind is top end production. A lot of these farms we have intensely managed for the last 8 years as far as VRT applications on 1 acre grids, and we know the production capabilities of these soils. We've decided this year we've planted a mix of hybrids. We've picked those off new genetics and how they've performed against old genetics in the past. We've planted DeKalb 6434, DeKalb 6390, DeKalb 5982, as well as Cropland 5370 and Cropland 4997. Yield goals on a lot of these farms here, we've built everything based off 300 bushel corn. The home farm, we've actually built the VRT recommendations based off of 350 bushel corn. Of the tools we're going to use, we obviously use climate for all of our planting maps, our field health maps. We do a lot with imagery, as we've seen from last year, a lot of benefit coming off the field health images from some various fungicide applications, some planter trials we've done as far as gauging that early season emergence. We're also going to use the FFT tool from Winfield to kind of help gauge our nitrogen application to get us where we want to be.
So we chose a farm. We specifically chose a farm based on soil type this year and organic matter and fertility levels. We kind of picked the best of the three, and the previous yield history off of this farm. We selected the hybrids based off of answer plot data and how they perform in different locations and how they would perform on this farm. This is kind of what we're going with. This year we decided to go with DeKalb 7026, DeKalb 6434, and DeKalb 5982. Those are the three hybrids that we're going to be entering. We also might have a fourth entry, which is Cropland 4997, just to see how it goes. It's on the same farm, different fields. We'll see what happens. As far as tools that we're planning on using this year, we're planning on using climate, obviously, because we have everything logged through climate right now. We're going to use field forecasting tool by Winfield and evaluating SAM with the pogo stick, which will be featured at different times throughout the year. Based off of this farm's history, we're hoping to push the mark to in the 300 bushel range. We've fertilized already for that, and we're going to continue to manage through the season to attain 300 bushel with our NCGA entry, or maybe push it further.
You can start to see some of these beans coming through. Doug's over here doing a stand count. Hey Doug, what you got for stand?
Oh, they're not up real good right here, guys. I'll have to check in another spot. I'm not fine. Oh God, there's one right there. Oh,
I heard, hold on. So Doug, I heard you had a good start to the planting season this year. You want to elaborate on your first day out?
The first day out wasn't real grand for us.
Yeah?
We had a little bit of a mechanical failure.
What would you, how would you classify this mechanical failure? Was it a serious failure, or something that slowed you down for a little bit?
I don't know how you rate seriousness of a broken trailer hitch hauling liquid fertilizer down the road, but
Bam.
I guess it's part of a safety testimonial is why you actually hook the chain up.
So for our yield goal this year, we're hoping to hit 3 trillion bushels.